Alright YouTube, so in this episode I'm going to be making a homemade induction kit, so stay tuned. Right, so I've been going around in circles with this, trying to make up my mind exactly what I'm doing. I've almost decided to just put a cone filter where the existing airbox is, you know, like you see the HKS ones, so like a red silicone hose. Use the existing MAF sensor and tube, and then just stick a cone filter resting on the OEM air filter box. But I think I'm going to stick with the original plan, which is to try and get a filter down behind the passenger side headlight. So annoyingly, I went to buy a battery relocation kit, and the Tegawa ones were like a month wait. I looked at CPL, they're more expensive. It was like 13 quid postage, so I couldn't bring myself to spend 73 quid on a battery relocation kit. So I thought, let's make my own. So that's taken me like a day to do, if not more. So I must admit, don't judge me for this, it's not pretty, but hopefully it will do the job. So let me grab the camera. So what I used, I had a length of this, it's like U-shape metal. So I bent one side down to sort of make an L shape. Well, unfortunately I didn't have a long enough piece to do all four lengths, so I had a piece long enough to do 3 sides, and I used the other piece to do the last side, and I've just got a sheet of aluminium as the base, some holes to drain any water that might get in there, and then I had some more metal, which is this stuff. So I've used this to make the bracket at the back. So you've got these 2 holes where your airbox, there's like 2 little metal, I don't know what you'd call them. They've basically got like rubber grommets on them, so the OEM airbox sort of pops onto them, and the only screw holding the OEM airbox in is around the side of it. So yeah, there's one tip for when you're trying to figure out how to get your airbox off. So when you're looking in your engine bay, say if that's your airbox, somewhere like there, you'll see a screw to the side. If you unscrew that, and you can just pull the airbox up, and it should pop off those 2 little things I was talking about with the grommets on them. So I've drilled holes for them so it can sit nice and flat. And you'll see there's 2 little screws that hold the metal bracket that the airbox sits on in place. So that's what I'm using to attach this to, and the one at the side. But I'm still finding, because the battery is obviously quite heavy, because all the supports at the back of it, if I sort of push down, there's a bit of flex that way. So I'm going to try and attach it to where the ECU is. It's a bit of a bodge. I'm not quite sure how the ones you can buy, how they support it battery completely solid. So I couldn't, ideally I'd go further that way, so this support would be nearer the front of it, but then you run out of room because you've got the height of the battery, like where your wipers are, you've got an overhang, so you've only got so much room you can go in before a negative terminal in this case will start hitting that aluminium sheet. So that's how far I've been able to get in. So it's a bit of a bodge. It's gonna have like probably a cable tie going up to, well, I'll show you anyway, but to be honest, I'd recommend buying one. I only made this because I didn't want to wait a month. I'm very impatient. So yeah, I'd just buy one, save yourself some hassle. Because the whole point of this episode was going to be like a budget cold air induction kit. So I suppose this makes it even more of a budget one, because obviously I'm not buying the relocation kit, I'm actually making it. So it's alright if you've got bits of metal lying around. That's how the battery relocation homemade budget tray looks. Forgot to mention as well, I'd drilled a big hole there and the bolt underneath that one is an Allen driven one, so I can put an Allen key through the hole to do that one up. It's just a bit of a pain in the ass trying to seat it properly. There's the other bolt just there, and there's the one I was saying about off to the side, which is the one the OEM airbox attaches by. So yeah, it was a bit too much flex for my liking there, so I've don't judge me for this. I put a cable tie around here to take a bit more weight at the front. I didn't want it hitting the linkage down there. So yeah, like I said earlier, just buy one, don't bother making one. Don't be like me, be patient. Alright, let me get you up to speed. So you can obviously see the old battery's been taken out. It's pretty simple to get that out. I've taken the bit of trim that runs along there off, so I could take off, where is it? That goes into the wheel arch, that's your air supply for the OEM system, so that's there, which allowed me to get the section off down below, which is this bit here. Bit of a pain, it's a bit of a tight squeeze to get it out. I found once I took the back off the headlights, it gave me a bit more space, and a bit of gentle persuasion, and that came out. So I think once I'm finished what I'm doing, I'm still going to at some point need to get the resonator box out from under there somewhere. I'm not going to be able to do that from above, so I expect that'll be another episode where I'll get it up on ramps and get the arch off and everything, maybe the front bumper, I'm not quite sure yet, and get that resonator box out. I've just undone those two bolts down there which hold this pipe here that goes to the resonator box, so it should be able to get that off. I'm just trying to figure out whether I can get the cables over to where they need to be. Well, the negative obviously isn't going to reach, so what I'll probably do is relocate that possibly to, there's a bolt under there, so I might use that one. So yeah, I should continue taking that off, remove that duct, and then see how far these cables will go. Right, so that pipe's gone now, which is this one. So I've just taken this cable away from the bodywork a bit, just undone these couple of clips just to try and get the positive terminal over to where it should be. So I should find out once I've got the battery in whether that's going to reach okay. Alright then, I thought I'd have a bit of a closer look at what I'm going to use for the induction kit. Is my RamAir silicone hose. I've got this 70mm outside diameter aluminium 45-degree pipe. There's my RamAir foam filter with a little silicone coupling there, and there's obviously the OEM airbox lid, which I need to cut that section off to reuse. This is kind of a daunting bit, I guess, because once you've done this, you obviously can't use this again. The plan is to cut this somewhere around here, have the aluminium pipe, maybe just that much of it, so I can turn this 45 degrees, and then I'll hopefully be able to put the rest of this on, and then it will go into this MAF tube here, which will then go into this silicone coupling and the filter. So that's the plan. Measure the distance there. I know how thick the silicone is, so I can figure out whereabouts on this is going to be 70mm, so it'll fit nice and snug. Cut this up, make sure it's nice and tidy at the edges, and have a little play around, see how it looks. I was probably a bit optimistic about how much give was in this silicone. At least it's nice and snug anyway. Fortunately it's facing the wrong way. Right, so I'm thinking something like that. Obviously I'll have the MAF sensor and tube there. So I just need to figure out how I'm going to get the MAF cable another 6 inches or so. Yeah, I'm not quite sure whether I'm happy the engine will be wobbling around, whether it will damage that filter. So maybe I just do it and then I get a smaller filter. I mean, it looks quite cool like that, but whether it will be any good, have to wait until we see it on the dyno, won't we? Right, so time for a little update. Just been playing around trying to get the MAF cable long enough to reach down here. So I've just been very carefully cutting this this tubing that covers some of the cables. Took that cover off, it made it a bit easier. I've sort of cut it back about a couple of inches. My fingers crossed. It will reach. Right, now it's time for the moment where there's no turning back. It's time to remove the tube that's got the MAF sensor, so I can use that on the new induction kit. So here, this is the point where I can't put it back to standard. So there's the old filter housing lid. So I should probably cut it along there, as close as I can to this step here. So yeah, I shall do this with a little Dremel, I think, try and be delicate. I dare not do too much more with the Dremel, otherwise I'll end up going too far. So I might see if I can file it down a bit, possibly a wood file. Right, it's the next day now. It absolutely hammered down last night, so I'm glad I stopped working when I did. I'm hoping, so I've got to connect the MAF sensor now, or the MAF tube holder, MAF tube let's call it. I've got to connect that to the new induction kit. And I've got to move the earth cable, or the negative cable, just hope that everything fits, all the cables reach alright. We should do. I had a little sort of play around, they seem to reach okay. Let's crack on then. I want to get this done. It's quite early for me, it's like 9 o'clock. I don't normally start working on the car 9 o'clock on a Sunday, but it's the F1 final today, so I'm going to try and hopefully get this done in the next few hours so I can chill out with that. I'll probably have to cut this one down a bit. I think it's a bit too long. Make sure you put all these on so they're accessible afterwards. This last one on the engine side of the MAF, I'm just going to do loosely for the time being, because I might want to rotate to get the MAF connector in the right place. So I just put that on loosely. We'll have a little look in its entirety before I put it on. Right, so there we go. Hopefully it'll fit alright. I'm just worried about the filter rubbing, so I might have to get a smaller filter. We shall see. Right, so I thought I'd better do a bit of a update, because I've just been merrily working away. You know what it's like when you get carried away. So I'm going to try and get some light on this, that'll help. So I've connected the negative battery lead up here. There's a tiny like at the end of a bolt sticking down, so I put it onto there and put a little nut onto it. I'm not overly keen on it. I'd rather be putting a bolt through it, but I tried using this bolt down here, which holds this bracket on, but then the lead wouldn't reach. So now it reaches the negative terminal back there. All the positive cables reach. I've had to disconnect a couple of these clips so this cable comes across. Like I said before, I've split some of this tubing open so I can get the MAF sensor to reach down here somewhere. So I've done a trial fit, it fits alright. It's a bit snug down here, so I might have to go for a smaller filter. Yeah, I was merrily putting it all together and then realised I hadn't put these clips on the inside before I started to put these on. And also I couldn't get this metal pipe to go in with this connected to the throttle body, so I had to undo that to give me a bit more space to get that in. I pinched this metal nozzle out of the old induction hose to reuse that, and the old clip that was there was too small. I guess the silicone hoses are a bit thicker, so that didn't fit, so I'm going to have to use a Jubilee clip there. So yeah, that's how we're going. I shall finish putting it back together and hopefully give it a start. Right, now time for the moment of truth. Let's find out if it starts and whether it sounds alright. I'm not sure if I summarised what I did at the end because I got all excited and had to start the car. I've used some trusty cable ties just to hold that cable down, stop it tapping against the bonnet. I've used one there because I put this air duct back in. Whether that'll divert any air down, we don't know, but for the time being I'll leave that there until I rip all the resonator box out and everything and stick a nice cold air feed in. Obviously put the Honda cover back on. If you're anything like me, be prepared for putting bits on and forgetting you haven't actually put a Jubilee clip in place and taking it apart, so you can put one there. I've done that a few times. The battery's back in. As you saw, I shortened the end bits either side. The length was alright, which is pretty good. It feels nice and snug. Got a good inch clearance from the linkage down there, so hopefully that'll be alright. So obviously put this back on, this bit of trim here. Not sure if that was broke before, whether I broke it, not sure. Yeah, I think I'll probably at some point go for a smaller filter. So it's pressed in there a bit, and it's gonna probably get a new, smaller one. I'll get a smaller one sooner rather than later. And I'll keep checking that everything's nice and tight after a drive. Yeah, pretty pleased with that. I think that looks pretty cool. I shall put some figures up on the screen about how much it cost me to do. Right, as I've said probably a dozen times already, so I wasn't quite happy with how the cone filter was rubbing against the housing for the ECU and the little bracket that holds the housing on. So what I've done is I've bought some slightly thin rubber sheets, and I've stuck them on so it covers the bracket up, so hopefully that will be a bit of a buffer between the bracket and the filter. I also noticed one of the, you know, you've got these little fins to help you undo the cover for the headlights at the back. One of them was rubbing, so I've taken the one off that's down there, which we can't quite see. I've sanded that smooth, so hopefully that won't rub against the filter either. So we'll see if that helps. So I'm not sure whether I can actually get I've been looking for smaller filters, but I can't seem to find any. It's a bit of a bugger, so we'll see how we go with this. Hopefully that will protect it. I imagine there's going to be a lot of comments saying it's a bit of a bodge job, which I kind of half agree with you, but what can I do? I thought I'd better get a smaller cone filter, but I can't seem to find one at the moment, so this will have to do. And you can see it stopped it rubbing against the bracket there. So yeah, let's go and hear what it sounds like. Right, I think it's safe to say that sounds friggin' awesome, so I'm really chuffed with that. So the final bit of this episode was going to be getting it on the dyno to see how much power I've gained or lost. Don't know what that hand movement was, but anyway. But I'm just conscious I haven't done a video for ages, so, and it's not 100% that I'm going to be able to get on the dyno soon. Possibly this weekend, but not sure. So what I'll do is I'll release this episode, and then we can have a nice little follow-up at some point where I actually get it on the dyno, and then we can see whether the power's changed at all. But in regards to sound improvement, there's a big tick on that box. Yeah, really pleased with that. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please like and subscribe, hit the old notifications bell, chuck a comment down below, say whether you've done something similar, or if you've got any questions about the bits I used, and I shall see you on the next one. Cheers guys.